January 15th, 1947, Leimert Park, Los Angeles. A young mother named Betty Bersinger is walking with her daughter along a quiet residential street when she notices something in a vacant lot. She thinks, at first, that it might be a broken mannequin. It is not. Bersinger runs to the nearest house and calls police. What officers find is the body of a young woman, severely mutilated, discovered in a way calculated to be seen. Within hours, the case becomes a citywide sensation. Detectives identify the victim through fingerprints on file from an earlier minor arrest. Her name is Elizabeth Short, 22 years old. Originally from Massachusetts, she had drifted through Los Angeles for years, chasing acting work that never materialized. Reporters, working fast, give her a nickname that will outlive every other detail of the case, the Black Dahlia, because the crime scene is so calculated, so deliberately staged. Investigators believe the killer wanted the discovery to shock. Los Angeles police assign dozens of detectives. Newspapers publish daily updates, feeding public obsession. Then 10 days after the body is found, someone mails a package to the Los Angeles Examiner. Inside are some of Short's belongings, along with a note built from letters cut out of newspaper print. It reads, in part, that more will follow, which meant investigators believed the killer was taunting them directly, inserting himself into the story he had created. Tips flood police stations because Short had crossed paths with hundreds of people during her time in the city. The suspect pool becomes enormous. Over the following months, more than 60 men confessed to the murder. Every single confession is investigated. Every single one is ultimately ruled out, either through alibi, physical impossibility, or lack of real knowledge about the crime scene details known only to police. What nobody knew was that this flood of false confessions wasn't unusual for a case of this magnitude. By the end of 1947, detectives have interviewed hundreds of witnesses and cleared dozens of formal suspects. No arrest follows. The case remains technically open. Over the following decades, the Black Dahlia murder becomes one of the most written about unsolved crimes in American history. Books propose dozens of theories. Some point to physicians with surgical skill, given the precision investigators noted at the scene. Others suggest organized crime connections or a serial killer never caught for other crimes. One retired police detective in the 1990s publicly names his own father as a suspect, pointing to disturbing photographs and testimony from family members. Investigators reopen and re-examine the case. They find the theory compelling but ultimately insufficient to prove guilt beyond doubt because so much time has passed. Physical evidence has degraded or gone missing entirely. Key witnesses from 1947 are long since dead. DNA testing, which might have resolved the question decades later, has nothing viable left to test against. The Los Angeles Police Department has never officially closed the file. Detectives assigned to cold cases still occasionally review it, though no lead in the last several decades has produced a viable suspect. Elizabeth Short's mother, informed of her daughter's death by a reporter seeking a quote rather than police, spent years afterward defending her daughter's reputation against sensationalized and often invented details published by newspapers chasing the story. Nearly 8 decades later, the question that opened the case remains exactly where it started. Who mailed that package still isn't known.